Most of us cannot sit in meditation for more than a few minutes without getting uncomfortable or very bored. But what if I told you the secrets to be able to unlock your next level of meditation so that you can sit for hours on end in bliss? This can allow you to do things such as a 10-day Vipassana retreat where we sit for 10 hours a day for 10 days, which is 100 hours in 10 days, and much more, even longer retreats. Here we'll discuss everything from technique, mindset, setup, and my number one secret for being able to sit for long hours. So let's jump right into it. A little thing I want to note though, before we get into how to sit longer, is that besides sitting longer, it's also the quality of the sit, because you can sit for 8 hours straight, 10 hours straight, but if your meditation is your mind just thinking and the monkey mind's going crazy and you are suffering and white knuckling it, then it's not really going to help you out. So it's also a lot about the quality of the sit. That's something we want to emphasize. And these techniques, we want to be able to make sure to maintain that quality as we extend that amount of time. Now, if you're someone just starting out and right now, even meditating 5 minutes is uncomfortable, that's okay. These techniques are going to help you. Or if you're an advanced meditator and you are already sitting for multiple hours, but you really want to unlock that next level, this is also going to break all those techniques down, because this is just about extending what you're already doing and improving your meditation. So first and foremost, let's start with the posture, the actual sitting posture and setup. There's a few postures that I recommend trying out, and it's not about trying to sit in something like the full lotus position just for the sake of sitting in a very advanced pose, even though for some people that is the most comfortable position and the most stable. But it's about finding a position that you are comfortable in for extended periods. An easy way to test this out is to do something that you enjoy doing that is already easy for you, such as watching a movie or a show is a good test. If you can find a position that you can sit in and spend, let's say, an hour, even though you're watching something or distracted, but your body is comfortable, then you know that at least you found a physical position that it's comfortable, and then we can move on to the mental aspect of things. So some postures you can explore and see what feels best for you. It's not one size fits all. Is trying out the easy pose, which most people are pretty familiar with. Trying out half lotus. If you're already very comfortable with full lotus, then go for that if that's your pose. Or try even just a chair. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the floor, especially for people with injuries or older individuals. So if that's something that's withholding you from advancing your practice, don't be ashamed of sitting on a chair. And use props, especially if you're sitting on the ground. Use a prop under your hips to elevate your spine. This will help you be able to maintain that straight spine a lot easier. So make sure to elevate your pelvis. You don't have to necessarily buy something. You can buy a meditation cushion, but using even just a pillow, a small pillow. Sometimes I just use the pillow that I sleep with. I put one under my hips, let my knees drop a little bit. Also, if you suffer from back problems or if your back is uncomfortable, you can put something for back support. And again, this doesn't have to be something you have to go out and buy. It could be as simple as just grabbing 2 of your pillows that you sleep with, putting one under your hips, where you're not sitting in the middle, but more on the edge. That way your hips are a bit elevated compared to your knees. And then putting one on your back and leaning against a wall. Now, when you're meditating, you want to make sure to keep that straight spine, like someone is pulling from the top of your head, pulling your spine up, because that's going to help you maintain alertness so that you don't get sleepy. If that's something you struggle a lot with and you find yourself trying to meditate leaning back on a sofa and you get sleepy, it's very important to practice that straight posture, put a prop up, whatever you need to keep that straight posture. But if you don't have back problems, you can just use the prop under your hips. And maybe if you want to put a fold up comforter or a blanket, or get a little meditation pad to sit on top. That way it doesn't create any discomfort where the edges of your body meet the hard ground. That's always very useful. And as you continue sitting more and sitting for longer, you will start to hear what works best for your body. For example, when I was doing the 10 hours a day, I would put cushions under my knees a bit to help support them. Sometimes I would put a blanket where my legs would meet, just to remove any points that I was already familiar with would cause some discomfort. So listen to your body. There's no right or wrong way. It's finding something that is comfortable for you, and it's a trial and error. So experiment, try different props, try using blankets, pillows, wherever it feels like it needs support, so that you can sit comfortably and focus on your internal journey, your internal meditation. Your space that you meditate is also very important, especially when you're starting out. Later on in meditation, really we make each moment of our life a meditation. No matter how noisy or where we're at, we'll be able to practice meditation. But when we're starting out and cultivating that mindset through sitting meditation, it's very useful to find a quiet place with no distractions. So if you can find a quiet room where, there's not a lot of noise, or a quiet spot in nature under a tree, can be very helpful for you to initially cultivate that practice. You can also experiment with lighting. If you feel very distracted while you meditate, try meditating in a dark room. Try meditating with just a candle or in pure darkness. Or if you are someone that gets very sleepy, try meditating outside in daytime, or try meditating with the lights on. You can work with lighting to either relax the body and mind further, or use lighting to create a sense of alertness. So you can play with lighting. Even though most of my meditations, for example, are with my eyes closed, it still affects my inner meditation depending on what the lighting is. So you can use lighting to help you out if you get sleepy or if you want to relax further. Some people also like to associate their meditation session with a certain type of incense or a candle or smell. That's something that could be useful at the beginning. Also, some people like to use music, a very soft, calm music, when they're first starting out. Now, the important thing with these tools, with smells and with sounds, is that they're okay to use at the beginning, but as we progress in our meditation journey, we want to slowly let go of them. We don't want to become attached to these things, because meditation is something that happens within and it doesn't need any outside triggers. And we don't want to end up relying on these things to get into a meditative state. So see them as kiddie wheels. If you need to put a certain smell to get you more relaxed, or put a certain sound, it's helpful. But as you progress, try to slowly let them go so that you can just meditate wherever, however, and ideally also slowly release from the sense doors. So with meditation, what we're trying to do is we're closing sight, we're in a quiet place. At least in sitting meditation, when we're cultivating this mindset, we let go of these sensory stimulations so that we can go within and feel our inner dwelling and cultivate equanimity, peace. So at the beginning, relaxing sensations, very useful, can get you to transition from ordinary state of consciousness to a more deep awareness, but don't get attached to these tools and slowly let them go as you progress. So let's talk about now how to prepare the body so that it is as ready as possible to sit for a long time. And long time, by the way, can vary person to person. Maybe you think sitting 20 minutes is a long time. Maybe you feel like 8 hours is a long time. What matters is that we are increasing your time of sitting so that you have more time to work on your practice. A great way to prepare the body is through asanas. Asanas are the movements done in yoga, and a lot of the purpose of these yoga movements is so that we can develop more comfort in our bodies so that we can sit for longer periods. For example, in Ashtanga, that's one of the primary goals of Ashtanga yoga, which is a series of movements that are done to stretch the body, move the body, get the body healthy so it can sit for longer periods of times. Now, if you don't want to go the whole deep route of learning Ashtanga yoga and becoming a whole expert in stretching, you can just do a few simple stretches before you sit. Just touch your toes, stretch your hips. Just a few simple movements before sitting can make such a huge difference. So try that out. And if you're very stiff, maybe consider going to a yoga class or watching a few YouTube videos on yoga stretches, vinyasa, so that you can get the body a little more comfortable, the knees a little more comfortable, the back, so that you can sit for longer. Another way to prepare the body is to not have very heavy meals before meditating. Eat lightly or wait a few hours after eating to do your formal sitting meditation. Because when we eat very large meals, it gets us very sleepy. So let's say we have a large meal, we try to meditate, the mind is going to be dull, it's going to be sleepy, it's going to be tired, and it's not going to be able to find that concentration and get into those samadhi states quite as easily. Also, make sure you're properly hydrated, but not overly hydrated. We don't want to interrupt our sit with having to use the bathroom, so find the middle path, a balanced way of being hydrated and making sure your body feels good, but not overly hydrated so that you don't have to get up and use the bathroom very frequently. Something else that is useful for the body is to make sure it is a comfortable temperature. Again, this is something that as we progress and we strengthen that mindfulness muscle, that meditation muscle, we'll be able to practice in more uncomfortable situations, let's say extreme heat, extreme cold, loud places, whatever comes our way, we want to be able to maintain that mindfulness. But at first, sitting somewhere where it's comfortable, maybe outside when the weather's nice, or inside with air conditioning. And if it's cold, maybe putting a blanket on top or a shawl can be very useful. Many monastics and yogis often wear blankets or shawls to be able to dive deep into the meditative state without having to worry about temperature or coldness. So use those tools. I like to very often wear a sweater or just something cozy because as we find more stillness in the body, it often cools down a little bit. Unless you're somewhere very hot, then it can be pretty cozy. And final tip for preparing the body, if you're super new and you're having a really hard time relaxing, try taking a warm shower before your sit. This can help relax you just a little further so that it can enhance your meditation. The next thing that's really going to allow you to sit for longer is to really master the technique that you're working with. Cultivate it, because with a good technique, you should be able to drop into deeper meditative states. This can be techniques such as breath meditation, anapana, vipassana meditation, where you practice body scanning, mantras, or metta, loving kindness meditations. There's quite a handful of different forms of meditation. I recommend to explore a few, watch a few YouTube videos. I have a few on my channel that I'll put in the link in the description of these different techniques for you to explore. Try them out, see what naturally works best for you, what gets you more easily into a deeper, relaxed, meditative state, and then cultivate that. Go further. It's like you're digging a well. If you dig a bunch of small, shallow holes, you won't get very deep. But if you focus in, you find one and you pick one, explore a few at the beginning, but then pick one, and then dive deeper all the way until you reach water or source energy, then that's the best way of going about it. And make sure to keep that tall, straight posture, but relax everything else. So again, don't white knuckle your meditations. Let everything else relax, and make sure to change your perspective of meditation is a way of enjoying the present moment, of savoring the breath, existence, and just relax. It's taking some me time. It's like a little vacation from thoughts, from your daily life. So enjoy it and relax everything besides what you need to keep your spine straight. Uncross your arms. Maybe you can put them on your lap or put them like this on top of your lap, just something very comfortable. And with meditation, we're trying to find balance between alertness and relaxation, both in the body and in the mind. In the body, we do that through keeping the straight spine, but relaxing everything else. And in the mind, we have our anchor, our focal point, may that be the breath, body sensations, wishing love to all beings, whatever type of meditation you're practicing is. And then everything else, we just let it go. All the other mental activity, we just relax it. And if something that very often distracts you from meditation is wandering thoughts, which is totally normal, that's the main thing we're trying to work with, is building up that mindfulness muscle, is be patient. Building our mindfulness muscle, I like to compare it to working out, to lifting a heavy weight. At first, you can only lift a small weight. You can't just jump into lifting a 200-pound weight right away. It's not possible. You can't even move it. And that's like when we start to meditate, can't completely shut down the mind, become like a rock. It's about slowly building more and more moments of being present, of mindfulness. So it requires patience. And if your mind thinks, but you get 1 second in of just quietness, of going in between the thoughts, of just peace, and slowly that 1 second starts to become 2 seconds or becomes more frequent, then you are progressing. And also if you haven't meditated for a while and perhaps your mindfulness muscle was very strong, but now it's not, also give yourself time because it grows weaker. Unless you're a fully enlightened being, then it has grown weaker. Give yourself time to build that mindfulness muscle back up. And what's useful also is if when your mind wanders, you can label it. You can say thinking and then go back to your anchor. That can be useful to label it, and with love, with compassion, without being upset, go back to your anchor. It's almost like you're guiding a small child back home over and over again. You do it with love, you do it with patience and compassion. And don't get upset when your mind wanders, because that's moment that you notice it, that's when you're aware. So it's like you're doing a rep in exercise. Every time you bring it back, that's when you're growing that muscle. So every time you bring it back, be excited. You did a repetition in exercise, in building your mindfulness muscle. So once you have your setup, your body prepared, let's talk about strong determination sits. These are sits where you are determined to not move. Ironically, they're very helpful because if we're sitting for a long time and we start to feel discomfort, oftentimes we think that the solution is moving, but a lot of the time, moving actually makes things worse and gets us out of the meditative state and out of the flow. So if possible, try practicing strong determination sits because they actually help you go deeper. Now, very subtle movements, like for example, if you're sitting and you pick your leg position, you pick your hand position, you keep those the same. If your spine starts to slowly roll forward, you can kind of move it back up. But other than that, we try not to move. That's the only movement that we do is we reestablish that alertness in the spine. But we try to avoid uncrossing or crossing the arms or switching the legs. And ironically, this actually helps us to sit for longer, is to have that strong determination and avoid those small movements. I have found in my own meditations that when I'm sitting for a long time, once I move like my hand or my leg, after that, my meditation's a lot worse and I actually feel a lot more aches and everything else comes up. So just avoiding moving that first time is very useful. But again, this is something that you have to be patient with and work your way up. Next, let's talk about equanimity with pain. Since pain is often the biggest obstacle or one of the biggest obstacles for longer sits, our body starts to become loud, our knees become loud, our backs become loud. and that often stops our meditation. And it's really about having the right perspective, a proper perspective, that pain is something we experience in our mind. And if we develop equanimity, which is observing things objectively with non-reaction, remaining equal, non-reactive, we can actually feel a great deal of pain, but not be swayed by it. And ironically, a lot of times when we accept the pain, we become equanimous with it, it oftentimes ends up actually dissipating. If we can see that all sensations, all things are truly impermanent, things arise and cease, then we can observe pain knowing that it is impermanent. We can observe it with equanimity, and there we can, without aversion, we can actually see it as is, and it often diminishes or dissipates. But ironically, first we have to let go of any yearning to have it stop or dissipate. So next time you are meditating and you feel a very strong pain, let's say for example your knee or your back, try really observing it objectively, like a scientist feeling that sensation for the first time. What really is this pain? What is the sensation? And can you observe it without reaction and just as what it is, and continue with your practice? And that's actually one of the most wonderful lessons meditation can teach you, is it can teach you how to not react to pain. And later on that can translate into not reacting to emotional pain, to mental pain. And of course, we don't want to go out our way to sit in a very uncomfortable way to create additional pain, but in your most comfortable position, if pain comes up within reason, don't hurt yourself. But usually the body can sit for long hours, it will feel pain, but it won't actually cause any damage to the body. Then that's where you can practice using pain as your teacher. So really step into that perspective of the witness that witnesses all these sensations without reacting. So not the thinking mind, not the I should move my leg, not the this hurts in my knee, and a lot of mine. Instead, just see it as a sensation, and you're just the observer, observing it objectively with equanimity, and see it as it is, and you'll see that often diminishes the pain by quite a lot. Next is movement meditation, taking intentional breaks. Sometimes if you are trying to for 10 hours or more, or even just an hour, and let's say you have a knee injury or something, it can be very useful to take a small break. Within reason, you do your sits that are strong determination, but after some points, let's say after an hour, sometimes it's healthy for the body to take a small break. You can continue your meditation through walking meditation. So meditation is not something we just do on the meditation cushion. You can get up and do a small round around the building, or a small 2-minute walk, and then come sit back down. And while you're walking, continue your meditation. You can meditate on the steps, on your breath. This can be a wonderful way of extending your meditation while still practicing. Now, my biggest tip for being able to sit longer is very simple, and we're going to talk about it just like we talked about exercise with weights. What do you do if you want to be able to do a curl with 100 pounds? You first start with, let's say, 10 pounds. You do a curl with the 10 pounds. And then you slowly work your way back up to 15 pounds, and 20 pounds, and 30 pounds. And you slowly work your way up over time to those 100 pounds. You don't go right into the 100 pounds because you won't be able to move it. You won't be able to do it. So one of the best ways to be able to sit, let's say if you want to sit for an hour or two, is instead of jumping right into doing an hour or two, is to start with 5 minutes, if that's what you can do right now. See where you're at and see what amount is comfortable for you right now. Let's say you do 5 minutes. And then the next day, maybe you do 8 minutes. Maybe you increase to 10. And then the next day you do 15. The next day 20, and you slowly work your way up in a way that your body has the time to adapt, to be comfortable, so that you can reach an hour, and then work your way up to 2 hours or to however long your goal is. If you want to do a 3-hour sit or however long, working your way back up. You're working your way up day by day. And if a point feels like is too big of a jump, stay with a certain amount of time for a few days or even months. Let's say at the hour mark, you pass that, you feel very uncomfortable. Sit for an hour every day for a month, for 2 months. And then after that, you can start adding an hour, 10 minutes, an hour, 20 minutes, and so on. So working in intervals day by day. If you want to get to meditating for an hour comfortably the quickest possible and being able to actually enjoy and have it be blissful, is to increase in intervals of 5 or 10 minutes gradually from where you're currently at, what you can comfortably sit for, until you reach that hour. And that will be the way you can actually reach that point, but it's not white knuckled, it's not uncomfortable, but you actually enjoy it. You can get into a deep meditative state and have it be quality meditation. Some final additional tips that might help you out are: try to meditate early in the morning, ideally right when you wake up. This is when your mind is most fresh and less cluttered with the mental activities of the day. This is a wonderful time to meditate. So consider meditating as soon as you wake up if you can. This is going to help you a lot. Set clear intentions before meditating. Say that you're going to meditate for a certain amount of time and have that strong determination. Find your comfortable seated position and meditate. And that strong intention can be something like, I am meditating so I can be the best version of myself for my loved ones, for my family, and for all beings. And set that pure, strong intention is going to help you be able to sit for longer. Feel free to use guided meditations as you start out. That can be a great way to help you develop your practice. And you can use timers. I like to use the Insight timer, not sponsored, but that's just what I use. It has a nice little bell you can put so that it gets you out of meditation nice and comfortable. And it can also help you track your consecutive days and your time and your stats if you're into that. And lastly, don't focus on the amount of time you sit, be another kind of ego accomplishment. Really focus on quality and on the results and on improving your mental state through presence. And meditation, again, is something we cultivate on the meditation cushion, but it's something we do moment by moment. So if you can only sit for a few minutes, but you really want to sit for longer, but your body's uncomfortable or you have a busy schedule, try meditating while you do dishes. Try bringing mindfulness and breath awareness while you go on a walk. There's so many ways that we can meditate in each moment. And really, it's about finding awareness, presence, and peace moment by moment. So I hope these tips help you. Really, you can hear about them, but it's different to actually apply them. So don't just put them in your intellect, but go and try them out. Try one of these tips today. Try the next one the next day. Slowly integrate them into your life and see how they can transform your practice. If you'd like to check out my artworks inspired by meditation and mystical states, check them out in the link below. And if you'd like to try out one of my guided meditations, here are some recommended videos. I hope you enjoy, and may all beings be free from suffering. Namaste.